Yeah. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this particular event. I believe you are all aware why we are here. Ghana actually assumed the presidency of the Security Council today. We've already had one or two events, but we deem it necessary to engage with you, the press, to let you know exactly what we'll be doing in the course of our presidency. With me here is Ambassador and Permanent Representative Harold Adlai Agyeman of the Permanent Mission of Ghana, who will actually be the president of the council for the month of November. And then we have Mrs. Caroline Opong Intri, the Deputy Permanent Representative, and Mr. Felix Osei Boatin, our political coordinator. As part of the program, our ambassador will give you an outlook of our presidency, after which we will take some questions, and then we conclude this particular engagement. So with your permission, I will give the floor to His Excellency, Mr. Harold Adlai Agyeman.
Thank you very much, Solomon. And good afternoon once again to the Dean and the members of the United Nations Press Corps. It's a pleasure to be with you here this afternoon to share with you elements of the program of work that the Council has just this morning adopted and which we would be rolling out for the month of November. But before I do so, let me indicate that this would be our 7th presidency since we first joined the Security Council in 1962, 1963. And we've been on the Council, this being the 4th time. I would also want to take this opportunity to congratulate our colleagues from the Gabonese mission who did an excellent work in leading the Council for the month of October. It was a busy month, 4 signature events, quite a flurry of activities in terms of Council activities. And we are grateful to them for the very strong leadership that they brought to the Council. We hope to build upon their very clear African focus during their presidency, and in a way that we hope would help to address the threats to peace and security on the continent of Africa. We will therefore be abiding by the shared A3 presidency commitment, which among others requires us to have effective coordination with other UN organs to ensure that we consult with the PBC for advisory on some of the files of the Council, to take into account gender balance in the organization and participation of meetings, and also to involve the regional actors in the matters before the Council. As you would very well know, the month of November has a number of competing international events. We have COP27, which will be taking place in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, from 6th to 18th of November. The G20 summit will also be taking place in Bali from 15th to 16th November. There would also be the FIFA World Cup, which will be commencing on the 20th of November. And of course, there will be Thanksgiving holidays, which more or less signifies the commencement of the holiday season here. And so what we've tried to do in this program of work is to ensure that we've accommodated all these elements in a way that reflects the competing interests of the international community, but also which ensures that the Council is able to carry out its work as expected. During the month, and in line with our priority theme for the membership of the Security Council, which is enhancing global peace and security for sustainable and inclusive development, we would be organizing 2 signature events. The first signature event, which would be on the 3rd of November, would be convened under the agenda item on peace building and sustainable peace. And it will be an open debate on the topic integrating effective resilience building in peace operations for sustainable development. This is a meeting that is an open meeting, open debate, and it will be chaired by the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration of the Republic of Ghana, Her Excellency Shirley Ayoko Botwe. The purpose of the debate is to seek a focused conversation on how best to balance the kinetic and non-kinetic aspects of peace operations in a way that helps to restore peace and address some of the underlying drivers of conflict, particularly on the continent of Africa. In respect of our second signature event, which will be on the 10th of November, this would also take place under the agenda item, Threats to International Peace and Security. And it will be the topic, Counter-Terrorism, an Imperative for Global Peace, Security, and Development. The meeting is a debate and not an open debate. It will be chaired by the President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. This debate would seek to focus attention on how counterterrorism measures or efforts in Africa can best be supported by the work of the Security Council, and how the Council itself can support such efforts, including through adequate, predictable, and sustainable funding. There are other activities of special interest, and I'll begin with an activity which is not on the program of work, but which is important, and that will take place on the 4th of November. The permanent representatives of the Council will be having a breakfast meeting with the elders. And this will be the 4th such breakfast meeting that the Council will be having with the elders. The last one which took place was in September 2021 under the presidency of Ireland. Our discussions will focus on how best the Council can be supported to address its mandate in the midst of the present geopolitical context and reality we have. So far, we've had 4 members of the elders confirm their participation. Former President Mary Robinson, former President Zedelo of Mexico, former Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, and Prince Zayed, the President of the IPI. So this will be an item of special interest, but is not on the program of work, but necessary nonetheless for the Council's activities. On Wednesday, the 2nd of November, we would have the annual briefing to the Council by the UN High Commissioner for Refugees. Mr. Filippo Grandi would present a brief on the major refugee operations around the world, highlight some of the drivers of displacement and emerging challenges of asylum globally. We also expect him to speak about the importance of addressing the root causes of forced displacement. Then on the 4th of November, we would have synchronous elections by the Council and the General Assembly for a replacement judge of the International Court of Justice following the death in May of Judge Antonio Trinidad of Brazil. On the 14th of November, we would have a briefing on United Nations peacekeeping operations by police commissioners, and they would highlight issues such as improving performance and effectiveness of United Nations policing and building on Security Council Resolution 2436 of 2018 and ongoing efforts to assess impact. On the 16th of November, we would have a briefing on the Secretary General's 180-day report on the activities of the G5 Sahel Joint Force. And then on 17th and 18th November, the Council would undertake its annual retreat, which is in the form of a finished workshop that takes place in Greentree with the title of Hitting the Ground Running. This is an opportunity for the present members of the Council to reflect over the activities of the Council, but also for the incoming members who are Ecuador, Japan, Malta, Mozambique, and Switzerland to have an orientation of how the Council actually works with members of the Council. We would also, on the 22nd of November, have a briefing on the Secretary General's report on piracy in the Gulf of Guinea, and this was called for by Resolution 2634, where the Secretary General was requested to present a report on his assessment of piracy in the Gulf of Guinea, but also the linkage between such piracy activities and the piracy and armed robbery activities at sea, and the linkage with terrorism in the Sahel. So, in essence, these are the briefings that we would be having during the month of November. We would also have some TCC meetings, 2 of them, one on MINUSCA and the other on UNISFA. Would also have the informal interactive dialogue on Syria, which comes up every other month. And then we would also be doing some adoptions that are scheduled for tomorrow on Bosnia and Herzegovina, as well as on the 14th of November on Somalia, MINUSCA, and UNISFA, and on the 29th of November on the 1540 committee renewal. Myself and my colleagues, especially our spokesperson, Mr. Solomon Kobie, would be available to you, and we will try to engage the media from time to time during our presidency to enable you to be able to function effectively. At this stage, I'll pause, and if you have some specific questions that you'd want to pose on the program of work, then I will take it and respond to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Agyeman, for your briefing. Now we will take questions from the media. But I would be grateful if, before you ask the question, you introduce yourself so that we know who is speaking. Protocol-wise, I am compelled to start with the President of the United Nations Correspondents Association.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Ambassador, for this press briefing. On behalf of ANCA, Valeria Robeco from Mansa Newswire. My question is on Ukraine. Yesterday, Under Secretary General Griffiths said that we are encouraged by Russia's assurance that it is not pulling out of the initiative, Black Grain Initiative, and it is only temporarily suspending activities in the implementation. The situation, however, doesn't look very promising for now. So are there some steps that you are planning or you're wishing to take in the Security Council aiming to contribute, to help at the end of the Russian suspension of the initiative? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that question. And certainly yesterday the Council had USG Martin Griffiths on the matter. And I think that when we look at the balance of views in the Council, there's a general support for the continuation of the Black Sea Grain Initiative. And the support that the Council can give would be to encourage the efforts that has been led thus far by the government of Turkey, as well as the Secretary General himself, who has been very much engaged in this matter. I think that all of us are concerned that we have the initiative ongoing in a way that helps to stabilize the food market. And so that would be the support that at this stage the Council can give. But as and when required, and when the Council can provide a more useful role, I'm sure that the Council will meet during the month and pursue that in respect of its mandate.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Edith Lederer from the Associated Press. A couple of follow-ups. First of all, on your major 2 debates, the one chaired by the foreign minister and the one by the president, are you expecting any outcome documents? Secondly, we actually don't see Ukraine on the provisional program at all. You've had a meeting with the rest of the council ambassadors today. What are you expecting in terms of meetings this month? And we also don't see Haiti on this program. And we were told that there is going to be a second resolution on Haiti on some kind of an intervention force to try and stabilize the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Edith. First of all, on the two signature events, we don't for the moment plan an outcome document. We intend to have the council discuss the matter, and certainly the conclusions of the council's discussions will be reflected perhaps in other processes. But for now, we don't have any plan to have an outcome document. On Ukraine, you are right that there is no specific programming of a meeting on Ukraine. But this is a matter that, as we all know, in the past months, we've always had it on a monthly basis in terms of council members calling for meetings on Ukraine. And so we have made that anticipation in the programming of the work of the council, and we are ready to work with all those members of the council who may call a meeting on Ukraine. We are ready to accommodate that, and we believe that this month there will be some meetings on Ukraine, as our colleagues on the council have intimated to us. On Haiti, the consideration of the matter the last time by the council gave an indication of a second resolution. But that second resolution was based on the request of the Prime Minister of Haiti for some international support. And I'm aware that there's ongoing consultations among the key stakeholders on this matter with countries in the region to establish the nature of the force and how that can be inserted in response to the request that has been made by the Prime Minister of Haiti on behalf of the government of Haiti. And so we would be anticipating that the conclusion of those consultations before the Council can properly take forward any resolution on the matter on Haiti.
James Bays from Al Jazeera. Quickly following up on Haiti, it was October the 9th that the Secretary-General wrote his letter to the Council. He said it was a matter of urgency. In your national capacity, are you concerned that it's taking some time and the situation is deteriorating? And if I can also ask you about what probably is the biggest concern in terms of peace and security on the continent of Africa, which is Ethiopia. There are peace talks underway right now in Pretoria. We're not really getting any visibility on how that's going. Maybe that's a good thing. But would you expect those peace talks, if they succeed or fail, a report then to come to the Security Council, and how worried is Ghana about the current situation in Ethiopia?
Thank you very much, James. On Haiti, certainly we are very much concerned by the situation in Haiti. All of us are, and the deteriorating situation as a result of the lack of the government of Haiti's capability to stabilize that country is one that concerns us, not least because also based on the gangs who have virtually taken over the country, we've had blockades and inability to resolve issues relating to fuel, water, etc., which has contributed to the cholera situation that we find in Haiti at the moment. The matter of Haiti also is a complex one, and I think that is one aspect that all of us need to recognize. The Haitians themselves have, in different parts of their history, also indicated some reservations to foreign assistance or interventions in support of their own matter. And so we think that even as we are concerned by the situation and we continue to work towards it, we need to ensure that we are able to take all the Haitians along. And I think those are the processes that are actually affecting the delayed insertion of any international police assistance to support the Haitian police to be able to maintain law and order in Haiti at this time. But certainly, in our national capacity, we continue to be concerned and very supportive of all the efforts that are ongoing to ensure that we're able to come to that conclusion sooner rather than later, because the people of Haiti certainly need that. On Ethiopia, we continue to strongly support the efforts of the African Union mediation. We think it's important. All the parties have shown commitment to the EU-led process. And as you said, there's very little coming out of the talks in South Africa. And we hope that that is an indication that the parties are still committed to finding the space between themselves in terms of achieving some settlement on the issues that are in Ethiopia. Our call has always been for the immediate cessation of hostilities, which is necessary, the access for the humanitarian agencies to be able to reach the people in need, and also for the talks to become a basis for launching a more sustainable process for peace in Ethiopia. And we know that peace processes are not linear in their nature. Sometimes you may make much more progress initially, and at some point you retrogress. But that is the way these things go. And I think that the EU is very much committed to seeing this through. And with the support of the international community, I believe that we'll be able to resolve it in the future.
Thank you. Evelyn Leopold, Globetrotter Media and Pass Blue. Could you elaborate on Thursday's session on what you mean by peace building and sustaining peace? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think James had also asked the question about the major challenge, which I forgot to respond to directly. I think if you look at the continent of Africa at the moment, one of the major challenges we have is the issue of violent extremism and terrorism. And that's why in our main events for our presidency, we've tried to focus on these two issues. On the program that we have for Thursday, which is on building resilience, integrating resilience building in peace operations. What we're trying to do is to essentially try to look at the context of the conflict situations we have on the continent from our unique understanding. A lot of the times when the UN operations are inserted into conflict situations, resilience building is a matter that is usually done at the tail end when transitioning the mission. What we're seeking to do is to bring resilience building at the front of peace operations. It becomes an integral part of the way and manner in which we address the issues of conflict. The Sahel, for instance, is a place where you have these extremists who use the inability of states' presence, the provision of state services or social services as a means to radicalize the youth and to perpetuate their war against society. And so what we're seeking to do is to ensure that the United Nations, which has a lot of presence in the field, integrates its activities in a way that supports the building of resilience even as peace operations are going on, in a manner which helps to undercut the narrative that these extremist elements use in radicalizing the youth and perpetuating their conflict efforts or their conflict strategy. And so that is one of the major issues that we seek in this debate to bring out. And hopefully, once the debate is done, we can take that conversation forward in a manner in which the United Nations itself does the mandating for peace operations. We recall that the HIPPO report itself had elements of this in it, but some of it have been picked up, others have not been fully picked up. And so these are a continuation of those discussions.
Okay. Ma'am, but just to also inform those who are online, we will be taking your questions. So we recognize the fact that you are with us. So thank you. Proceed.
Hello, Ambassador. My name is Margaret Bashir. I'm with the Voice of America. You said African focus for your presidency, but I don't see DRC on here, and I think Congo and Rwanda, the tensions are very high right now between them. What can the Council do to help lower the temperature, and might you discuss it this month? And also just on a technical point on the elders meeting on Friday morning, is that going to be in this building or someplace else, since you're doing a breakfast meeting? I wasn't sure.
Thank you, Margaret. The issue of DRC has not been scheduled on the agenda, but it's certainly very much on the top of our minds in terms of the situation that we are witnessing. We've seen the Secretary General himself express concern about the situation, the resurgence of the M23, and the actions that are going on in the region, and the need for the building of trust. I think last week, on the 28th, the Council issued a statement on the Great Lakes region, which essentially addressed some of these matters. But even more importantly also, the 1533 committee, which is the Committee on DRC, will be undertaking a field visit to the DRC, to Rwanda, and to Uganda. They'll be going from the 7th to, I think, the 18th, the 7th to the 18th. And among other things, they'll be establishing facts on the ground relevant to the sanctions regime that exists. And so all of us are very much mindful of it. And at this stage, let me use this occasion to reiterate our condolences to the 4 peacekeepers from Morocco who were injured as a result of the incident last week. I think that it will be a feature perhaps on the Council's agenda, but we will do it at a time when the Council is ready to consider it.
Thank you.
And then on the elders, the meeting will not be here. I think when you have a conversation with elders, you want it to be in a quiet place. So we are not going to be meeting them in the UN building, but meeting them in a place that has been agreed with other members of the Council.
Thanks, Ambassador. Yes. Here, this is Betül Yürük with the Turkish news agency Anadolu. I'll have a question on Ukraine and the grain deal. As you're aware, some of the Ukrainian grain exports have been sent to the Horn of Africa by the World Food Program, but with Russia's suspension of the deal and the uncertainty whether the grain deal will be extended or not only as the President of the Security Council, but also as an African ambassador, what message do you have for Russia, and what does that mean, this grain deal, for some of the African countries? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. And I think that yesterday's discussions in the Council really showed strong support by the international community for the Black Sea Grain Initiative. And I think it's important that that initiative be kept alive, even beyond the November deadline. Because as I think it was USG Martha Griffiths who said that when that announcement was made of the suspension on the 29th of October of the Russians, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange showed a blip up in terms of market pricing. And I think all these things are priced into the markets. And so even the fact that the ships are working and moving grains across from the Ukrainian ports is an important signal that all of us require to ensure that there's food security for many countries who would otherwise not have that opportunity. And we want to see it continue. And we hope that the Russians will be able to come back to the table on that.
Okay, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ambassador Stefano Vaccara, La Voce di New York. I know tomorrow you have the briefing with Filippo Grandi on UNHCR. This is a question about Libya and an agreement that Italy is called Memorandum Italy-Libya. There's actually, within 24 hours, will be automatically renewed if nothing happens. It's about migrants and refugees that come, they go to Libya, then try to reach Europe, but then they are captured on sea by Libya Coastal Guard with means ships, training that Italy gives to Libya. Now, more than 40 organizations, humanitarian organizations, have been saying that this is against human rights because when these migrants get back to Libya, many of them get tortured in camps because Libya is not a country at the moment that can handle an operation like this. So as a president of the Security Council, first, do you think that this is an issue that the Security Council should address? In about 5 years, about nearly 100,000 Africans have been, their human rights have been at stake with this operation. Or your national capacity, if you want. Do you think this respect human rights and international law, this agreement, that again, within 24 hours, will be automatically renewed if Italy or somebody, doesn't stop it?
Thank you for that question. I'm not very much aware of this particular memorandum, which is going to be renewed, and so I'll get back to you on it in its more substantive manner. But certainly, the issue of migrants and going to Europe through Libya has been one that, as African members of the Security Council, we've always spoken about. Migrants are driven to move by circumstances, and they deserve all the rights that need to be accorded them in the process of transit, but also in the process of destination countries. And so our position has always been that such migrants should be treated fairly. We are also aware that the ICC has been asked to investigate such matters, and we would follow those through. I think that, unfortunately, the situation in Libya, which was actually the receiving point for most of the African migrants, has made it to be what it is now, in the sense that because Libya does not have the capacity to receive such migrants, they then need to move on. And it's a matter that needs to be addressed by all of us by ensuring that we help to deal with the situation in Libya and bring about an early resolution of the challenges in Libya.
A quick follow-up, because it's a question of hours, of course. Do you think that tomorrow, when you have actually Filippo Grandi addressing the Security Council, maybe you, in your national capacity, will be asking about this matter?
We will be looking into that. We'll look into that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Excellency. My name is Cecilia from News Agency of Nigeria. My question is going to be on your November 10th program. That is on counterterrorism in Africa. So what are the objectives and expected outcomes of that debate? Then secondly, I'm also thinking that post-election is also a threat to peace in Africa. Do you have any program to address that? If yes, what are the programs? And if no, why not? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cecilia. On the issue of counterterrorism, our objective is to get the Council to establish its support for African-led regional initiatives that deal with the issue of terrorism on the continent of Africa. We are all aware that peacekeeping has certain limitations in terms of the principles that it has to abide by. But some of the issues that we face, especially the issue of terrorism, sometimes you need a robust force with an enforcement action. This is something that the Secretary General himself has also indicated his support for in the past and continues to do so even for now. And so that would be the first step. But also, we are aware that the Security Council has primary responsibility for the maintenance of international peace and security. And so when these regional-led forces take these actions under the mandate of the United Nations Security Council, it's only fair that we should have some support given by the United Nations for such forces in terms of financing, logistics, and other things of that nature. And so these are the objectives that we seek to bring out in the debate that will be organized on the 10th of November. On the second issue of post-election related matters, those are issues that are actually more in the realm of peace building, ensuring sustainable peace. And so, in a way, some of the elements that we'll be discussing in the 3rd November open debate would be covered by that, but not specifically, because if you want to address that specifically, then you need a more sharper, focused, thematic open debate on that than the one that we're doing.
Yes, sir. You have the floor.
Hi, my name is Toshi Inaba from Kyodo News, a Japanese news agency. As you know, there's a speculation that North Korea, the DPRK, will conduct a nuclear test before the U.S. midterm election. And considering that Council couldn't make any action against ballistic missiles fired by DPRK last month, do you think you can reach some agreement, or you can act against nuclear test? Or do you think it's very hard to reach any agreement with the council members so divided? Thank you.
Thank you also. The question of DPRK's ballistic missile test, as well as the possible nuclear test that you speak about, is a concern to many members of the council. And I think that if you go back to some of the council's open debate that has been held on this matter, you'd see that quite a significant number of the members of the council are concerned by that, especially over the past 15 months when it has continued to accelerate its missile program with unprecedented intensity and diversity. And so if you look at from January to now, almost about 40 missiles test alone this year, that is something that all of us are concerned about. The council can only be effective to the extent that all the members of the council are able to support the actions that the council has determined to take against the DPRK. The council has passed some resolutions in the past, which the DPRK is obliged to abide by. But until that time, it means that the council will not, until the time that all members of the council are able to come to that position, particularly those who we need their concurring votes. It will be difficult for the council to make a very strong case. But the other means by which within the international system influence can be brought to bear, and there are parties that are members of the council who have influence also over the DPRK, and so that will be an appeal we make to them to ensure that we don't go through that type of route.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Thank you, Ambassador. My name is Zahra Hojabri from IRNA, Islamic Republic of Iran. The U.S. plans to hold an informal meeting in Security Council about Iran on Wednesday. And the Islamic Republic of Iran considers this action, U.S. actions and interference in its internal affairs, and a dangerous precedent. As a new head of a Security Council, how will you act to prevent this dangerous precedent? And what is your reaction to the double standard and double approach of the US? And the second question, why the Security Council does not condemn the terrorist attack in Holy Shrine of Shah Cheragh in Shiraz? Does Security Council categorize terrorism as a good and bad?
Thank you for that question. First of all, it's important to establish that Iran as a country is not on the file of the Security Council in terms of such matters. There's a JCPOA which comes into the council, but not in relation to any situation in Iran in relation to this matter. What is being organized on Wednesday is an area formula meeting. And even though the Security Council establishes that scope for members of the council to have that formula meeting, these are not technically Security Council meetings. We have, on our national level, followed the issue that is happening in Iran. Of course, we hope that the authorities of Iran would be able to find that space with the protesters to resolve the matter so that the situation does not get out of hand. At the moment, we consider it to be an issue that, in our national capacity, an issue that lies within the realm of the sovereignty of Iran. But we are, of course, concerned by the high number of deaths that have occurred as a result of the protests, almost about 250 in the last count we had. And we've taken note of all the measures also that the government of Iran has taken. And we hope that both the law enforcement and the protesters will be restrained in the manner in which they go about it, so that lives are not lost in that regard.
And the second question, why the Security Council does not condemn the terrorist attack in the Holy Shrine of Shah Cheragh? Does the Security Council categorize terrorism as good and bad?
Certainly, all terrorists are bad. And I don't think the council can be in a position to categorize some terrorists as good or bad. The Holy Shrine issue, as I said, Iran is not on the file of the council, and so it has not come up in the context of the council addressing it. But that is a matter that perhaps maybe the council could consider and interrogate it a bit further.
Thank you. Yes, Edward, you have the floor.
Okay, my name is Edward Nyako from GBC News Ghana. The issue of integrating effective resilience building in peace operations for sustainable peace is high on your agenda on the ministerial debate. Talking about sustainable peace, how crucial is it when you're talking about peace in terms of peacekeeping operations, regards to engaging women on that front? And because a lot of women and children are suffering, if you look at the Sahel, how are we going to make sure women peacekeepers are fully integrated into the building of resilience and making sure that we get sustainable peace in this part of the world?
Thank you very much, Edward, for that question. And I think that you touch on a very important part. Women and children particularly tend to be the greatest victims of conflict, but they also can be the greatest agents for the resolution of conflict. And if you take our parts of the world where you have women who are the foundations of the stability of the society, it's important that we recognize their role in the context of how we build peace, how we ensure that the communities are resilient. And so as one of the elements for this debate, we're looking at the element of the women, peace and security agenda, but also the issue of youth, peace and security, which is very necessary in addressing the conflict situation that we have on the continent, and especially in places such as the Sahel, where the role of women in enhancing peace and stability can be very critical to ensuring that we have that sustainability that is required.
Yes, we will now take questions from those who have joined us online. I have Ire Kaneko. Ire Kaneko, if you can hear me.
I think that's a mistake. She's a spokesperson. I don't think it's her. I think maybe she's just watching, maybe.
Okay. Then we have Florencia,
Yeah, she's also a spokesperson.
spokesperson.
I think they're just logged on.
They just logged on. Okay. Okay.
Let me thank you. I think we've done the rounds, and as I indicated, we look very much to cooperating with you during the month. We know that there are other major high-level activities taking place, but I hope that you'd be able to support the work of the Council to ensure that the things that the Council does is also projected for the global publics. Thank you very much.
Come and talk to us at the stakeout very often.
We're there every day.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.